pjnet.tv, 9 p.m. East Coast of the United States. You are watching the PJNet Live Bumper, and we are recording this for quality. And we are streaming on Facebook, we're streaming on Twitter, streaming on YouTube. We have a first-time guest standing by. The chat room's waiting, starting countdown to Studio 18. Well, good evening and welcome to PJNet.tv. I'm Coach Prasick, and it is a pleasure to be here and host these wonderful programs where we talk about everyday Christians sharing their walk with Christ. Now, behind me you see what many of you at least, well, maybe one or two of you at best, would recognize as an iconic Facebook profile picture. And we are blessed, I mean really blessed, to have in person live Clarice James, and Clarice is from somewhere up north. I know that, and she knows that I'm from somewhere down south. No question about that. Clarice, good to have you here on PJNet.tv. And before we get talking about you, I'm not kidding. That Facebook profile picture is one that, you see all these pictures on your timeline, but when I see that one, I know I'm about to get some sarcastic humor.
Me? Oh, not me. My husband took that picture. We had such a fun time. I am not photogenic at all, and he took the picture, and I said, "That's it. We're going to stick with that one." And every time I try to replace it, I have people say, "Oh no, I like that picture. I like that picture. Keep it." So I think it's about I don't know how many. I think it's 2011 was when we took that picture. So it's 10 years old.
You had more hair back then. It wasn't.
I know. I should start, adding some gray to the picture, not to.
Yeah, I just have to tell them to cut the gray out, and that doesn't leave a whole lot. But where do you get your sarcastic humor? Do you get those? Google that, because you can't possibly be coming up with all this stuff on your own.
Well, yes. People will say to me, "Do you mind if I share?" And I say, "Share and share alike." Where do you think I got most of that stuff? I have, and then because I enjoy doing it, I also have a few people that will send me things. They don't post it. They just automatically send it to me. It's like I'm a clearinghouse for this silliness, and I don't mind. Fuck. And some of the things I do post myself, but I don't say this is me. This is, most everybody knows, when it's been around for a while, but they seem to get a kick out of it. So
amazing. All right. Now, you have authored several books. Now, I read in your bio, surprise, surprise, you grew up in the tradition of the Roman Catholic Church.
Yes.
Married, what did you go from?
18, yeah.
Right. 18, you took off your graduation gown and put on your wedding gown. Is that how that worked?
Basically, that's the way it worked.
And 5 years later, 3 kids. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, I did. Yes.
How'd that work out for you?
That was when you marry that early and you have children, and you may have desire to do something other than be a mom or be a wife. You may have interests, but you got to do what you got to do. You take care of your family, and then you work. I worked outside of the home, and I didn't really get a chance to write novels. I did write did a few little articles for local newspapers and local magazines, but nothing steady, because I just didn't have the time. I mostly worked as an admin assistant in a, living on the Cape. There's no big industry on Cape Cod. That's the tourism is the industry. So I worked in small offices, construction offices, architect, eye doctor for a while. Yeah, so I think I like the admin part. I liked helping people. So,
Well, you grew up in the tradition and catechisms of the church,
right, right.
but like many people, myself included, once you got out of the home, got a little freedom, it's like, nah,
Yes,
I don't need that anymore.
right. That's what happened. And we ended up moving away from people that we did know, in our little area. And one of the neighbors, her gift was leading people to the Lord. I mean, while I lived across the street from her, I can't even count the number of people she led to the Lord. So she would invite me over for coffee, and I didn't really want to hang around her because I thought she was a little crazy. I thought she was kind of a fanatic. So, but my children wanted friends, so we ended up becoming friends. And she would never, and she was also brought up in the Roman tradition, so we had that background. And she would always have the Bible on the table. And, in my house growing up, it was a big white Bible and you weren't allowed to touch it.
Yeah,
So
it was an ornament.
yes, it was an ornament. I
I
used
had
to,
an aunt who had a bunch of antique furniture in her house, but you go in her
yeah,
house and there's nowhere to sit down because there. Oh, don't sit there. That's my. It's like
yes, we, I
it's a
grew up with,
chair.
yeah, I, I grew up with four brothers and a sister, and my relatives, and they lived in Rhode Island, and they had smaller families, and their families were a little fancier than our families, so they didn't really like to see us coming. But when we'd come, my aunt would cover up all the furniture and put, like, she actually had a velvet rope to keep us out of
Oh
the
no,
parlor.
with a
She did.
sign that says reserved seat.
Yeah. So that's the
I
way it
would
was.
assumed it was reserved for me. I would.
No, not for us.
But something happened. You had coffee with your friends,
I
and
did.
something connected.
Yes, she actually explained, that I could have a personal relationship with the Lord. And, she asked me if I wanted to pray with her. I'd never had anybody ask me if I wanted to pray with them before. And it was just the two of us. So we did pray. And I really sensed the presence of God at that time. It was uh, I'll never forget. I knew there was something, and something special. And so from that time on, that was like, 40 years ago now. And so, and a lot has happened. And like I said, I've seen her lead others to the Lord since then. And it's amazing that how God has worked in our lives, all the people that she led to the Lord. So it's been exciting.
We may have stumbled across something there.
What?
In our in our outreach and evangelism and all those models, that we study,
Mhm.
the emphasis seems to be anyway, invite them to church, invite them to,
Mhm. Yeah.
that's not what happened with you. She invited you to
No.
her home to have coffee.
Right. Right. She did. Yeah.
Big
And I
difference.
wouldn't have gone to church. I, I probably, you grow up in a, even though I wasn't going to church, we grew up going, okay, this is the only church you go to for the rest of your life, this denomination. So I probably wouldn't have gone
Hmm.
before we prayed.
Right.
And then at the time I was waitressing, I think, at the time, at a very nice restaurant, but they had everybody working on Sundays, so I could not get the day off.
Uh-huh.
And so it was one of those situations, like, it was a God thing in a way, because my husband didn't know the Lord at the time,
Hmm.
and if I had run off right away and gotten involved in a church family and right away, it might have been a little bit harder on him. As it was, it took him a good long time. I remember being concerned that he did not know the Lord, and And I would hear people say, well, it took my husband a year. And I thought to myself, I don't know what you did wrong, but it's not going to take me a year to get him, And
Mm-hmm.
so, it took 10 years,
Oh
10
my.
years.
Oh my.
So,
All right.
uh,
We've got a lot to pack in the next 9 minutes.
yeah.
You never thought of yourself as a writer, but you found yourself widowed, and I couldn't help but think after our conversation earlier today that influenced your writing. It was maybe even therapeutic.
Oh, it definitely was. It definitely was. I didn't start writing like the first year I was widowed, but after that, I have a sense of humor, and I know this sounds weird, but when you're widowed, whatever happened, whatever you're going through, to me, there's always something you can smile about or laugh about. So I started writing about my experiences as a widow, just taking notes, and that ended up in the book Party of One. And a lot of the funnier things that happened in that story are true. And the fact that this character in the book, who I call Annie, that she began a party of one, which was a communal table for single people. I really wanted to do that, and I never did until the book was published. And then I did start a party of one, even though I was remarried by then.
Mhm.
And my husband finally said to me, so am I going to have to eat dinner with 12 women every week? I, I said, you might be more. So we did that for a couple of years, and it was a blessing to them and to me to be able to do that.
Well, on a more serious note, my take is that you're living single in a double's world, in a couple's world,
Yeah.
and people I don't think are sensitive to the idea that people are isolated.
No, they're not, but I was aware of it. So even in my church, I ended up doing things like pointing out or trying to bring out, like the ladies ministry. I ended up organizing an event for all of the women. They weren't necessarily single, but they could be the women that sit alone at church. I sat alone at
Mm-hmm.
church for 10 years. So, and then I was widowed. But so we did this thing where we really introduced a lot of the women anew to the other married women of the church.
Wow.
And then I also was concerned with the young adults. And so I had a dinner at my house once a week for the young adults and the over high school, college age.
Yeah. The
And
ones that would have been married, would they have been you? They wouldn't have
exactly. But and that was a blessing. So there were a lot of blessings in there, and I learned a lot. And all of a sudden, for going to church. Finally, my husband did come to know the Lord, and he was with me for 8 years, but 10 of those early years he wasn't. So,
been.
but now,
Well, there were several books in between, folks, and I don't want to shortchange your work,
right,
but Party of One was that first, that one had made a bigger splash, higher impact, but
right,
there's something new you're working
right.
on.
Yes, the least of these. That book just came out. Came out in May, actually, and it's a blessing to me because I was able to go up to this Andover, Maine, when my brother and my sister-in-law own a house, and we got to go around this little town, population 821, and visit with the people, talk to the people, meet a lot of the people, get a lot of the background. And so I decided to set this story in Andover, Maine, and I actually got to use some of their real names, and it's just about this based on information stories I hear, and it's about a nurse that catches a doctor in medical fraud, so she leaves and hides out in Andover, Maine, taking care of an old aunt, somebody she didn't even know, she never met her, and so it's. I think my stories are character driven, so a lot of fun characters and the little suspense and a little mystery at the end, but it's good. And we're going to go have up to Andover, Maine, to their old home days, and have a book launch with all the townsfolk up there. So it'll
Well,
be
you
fun.
should be quite the celebrity in that town then.
I sure with 821 people, maybe I'll have like 8 that know me because they're in the
There's
book.
there's a book written about this little podunk. I mean, when you were first talking about it, I thought this sounds like the northern version of Mayberry, but
Yes, it is. Yes, it
it,
is. Yeah. Yeah.
well, I'm also from a small town, Clarice,
Oh,
so
really?
about the same population. We don't have a single traffic light. We watch Monday Night Football. When I watch football, we watch Monday Night Football on Wednesday when it got here, and
Oh,
it came by. Amazon overnight delivery doesn't work this far out.
it
Okay,
doesn't work that far.
they make false claims about that, but there are benefits. Well, there's pros and cons of small
There
towns,
are. Yeah.
and I grew up here, so I love it. But I think that much of America is not like what is portrayed in the media. New York and
Yeah,
Miami,
I
Los
know. Right.
Angeles, and
Right.
so much of the country is so much different. And
Yeah.
I really feel when I would go to a cruise and you're at the port of Miami, and I think, do people come here and think this is what America is? Because
Yeah.
it's not.
They do.
It's
Yeah.
not. I mean, there's
Yeah.
we had an interesting experience today. My wife had a flat tire, and in the time that it took me to get up there, a lady came by, senior,
Hmm.
and she said, "I don't know anything about changing tires, but I'll be glad to just stay here with you until help
Um,
arrives."
yeah.
Well,
It's nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, very nice. And then
Yeah.
when I got there, I could have changed a tire, but we have roadside assistance. I thought, I'm paying them to do it. Let me
That's
just
right.
we'll just sit here in the air conditioning of my truck and wait on them. And while we were waiting, two gentlemen in their 40s, probably 50s, pulled over and said, "Hey, if it's a flat tire, we'll change that for you, right?" I
Yeah.
thought,
Yeah. You know,
this is the America I grew up in. This is
that's
the
right.
America that I love. And so I hope that you captured some of the goodness in the
Oh,
hearts of people.
they're good and hardworking. Yeah.
All right,
Hardworking people. Yeah.
time to hurry. Now, you also, in addition to writing, you have actually done some seminars. Who's the target? Well, for beginning writers, you struggled
Beginning
with writing,
writers, right? Beginning
so
writers.
you put together a little talk, and you've had the opportunity. I guess prior to COVID, you had more opportunity, but
We had more opportunity, and I would include. I love to include other writers too. So I mean, I put the package together, but then I would have a panel
mhm,
of writers sometimes that would come with me, and it was fun, because they offered a different perspective and they gave their experiences, so it was
okay.
good.
5 steps: develop your idea. Number
Hmm.
2, your first 5 pages. Number 3, your unique voice. Number 4, edit, edit, edit. And finally, before you submit, could you just comment in the couple of minutes we have remaining on each of those points?
Sure, you have to know what you want to write. Is it fiction, nonfiction? You have to really get the general idea, and then you have to really power it down. So you have to develop what's your idea, who's your audience. That's important to know. You can't just start out with nothing. It's like I say to this one woman who quilts. Yes, your quilt. You got a pattern. You have to have a pattern for your quilt. You
Mhm.
can't just say I'm just going to keep going. So that was important. And what was the second one there? you
I'll,
you have them. You took
I'll,
them
gi-
off the screen now.
give you your notes. Your first 5 pages.
Oh yeah, your first 5 pages. You have to make an impression of the first 5 pages, or else they won't continue reading the book. People, especially writers nowadays, readers nowadays, they want everything quick. So edit, edit, edit. You have to thin it out, thin it out, thin it out, and the thinner you make it, the richer it is. You just can't fill it up with a bunch of words because they sound good. So,
Mhm.
and before you submit, you got to follow your publisher's guidelines, editor's guidelines, and agent's guidelines. You can't just do things on your own. They all have different guidelines. This is a business, and it's not it's not easy. It's simple if you follow the rules.
And then there's that tough one. I hear this at Writers Conference. Find
Mhm.
your unique voice. It's like,
Yes, find you need. For me,
that
people
sounds like girl
say
talk, you know?
yeah, well, probably, but people say in my books, they people that know me or read all my books and don't know me say they can hear my voice, even though they can hear my voice in some of the characters. So don't try to write like J.K. Rowling or Stephen King or any of those, because, and if you say, I'm a writer just like J.K. Rowling or Stephen King, the
Yeah.
editor's not going to want you because they already have them.
Yeah.
They
And they're
don't
better
need
at it. Yeah. Well, and I would add to that. I mean, I'm not a writer, but you've got to find you've got to find a niche. You've got to
Yes,
find, and I guess that's
yes,
part of the voice, but you've got to find that market that you have a heart connection to. You know, you can't just
exactly.
write as a business. If you're not
Right,
inspired, if you're not passionate about what you're doing, well, then
right.
don't do it.
That's right.
Just don't do it.
No, that's
Find something
true.
else, you know?
It's true. If you're not gifted, people will ask me, why do you write? And I'm very honest with them, and I say because I can't do anything else. Really, seriously,
Well,
I
so
don't I don't sew, I don't knit,
Well, you know, there's a lot of things I don't do.
so
I don't know
I
how to
write.
swim, so I walk
It's
on water. And people ask me, "Why do you walk on the water?" I said, "Because I can't swim." Okay.
yes,
Well, Clarice, I tell you, we packed a lot into 20 minutes, and
we
you
did.
are a joy to be around on air, but you are a joy to social media. I always look forward to, like I say, there's that edge of sarcasm that it just smacks of, you know, up, yeah, New York City, you know, just
Oh, that's right. Don't I try to be kind.
well, but you make your point with a point, you know, with a little shtick, you know. But anyway, well, we thank you for sharing with us. Oh, I forgot something. Your website is claricejames.com. Where'd you come up with that name?
It took me a while. It took me a
It
while.
was 20th on your
Whether
list,
to
you know.
leave the G in or take the G out, it
Yeah.
was just a tough decision.
Oh boy, it's life is tough. What would people find there? Links to buy your book or what? Anything
They would
valuable
find,
there?
they would find links to I have more on my bio. Actually, they can read the first chapter of every one of my books on
Oh,
that
how
website.
about that?
Yeah,
That's nice.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Clarice, we've run out of time, and I really have enjoyed our talk together tonight. Thank you
It's
so
good.
much for sharing, and I know that there are many out there who love and need to hear what you've got to say, and I appreciate you sharing with us tonight.
Well, thank you very much, Coach.
All right, that was Clarice Jones. You've seen her on Facebook, and there you see the view high atop the Eagle's Nest broadcast facilities from which this program originates. I have nothing to put back there. Sorry. Um, we've got another guest coming. Michelle Medlock Adams is normally our guest at the bottom of the hour on Wednesdays, but as you recall last week, she's got something important she's doing. She does it once a year. It's called her anniversary, and she and her husband Jeff are enjoying. But she has sent someone to join us, and I will introduce you to Alexis in just a moment. Before I leave, and we will be back in just a few moments, I'd like to pose a serious question to you, two of them actually, that you will hopefully answer to yourself. The first question is this: what is the boldest thing that you have ever done for Jesus Christ? And the second question is, when was that? Going to live life to the fullest, you're going to have a little courage, a little bravery. So I hope that none of us will be satisfied with either answer.